All right, guys, it is Nero here with Dapp Center, bringing you guys an AMA with the CEO of Waypoint 2 Space, our guest, Kevin Heath, and the person behind the Spway token. How you doing, Kevin?
Great, thank you for having me.
Awesome. Now, space seems to become a recent trend with Elon Musk and SpaceX launch of their IPO, which is one of the largest IPOs ever, and NASA going to the moon earlier this year. We are definitely seeing space become this sort of trend. So I've been studying the project, and I know you have come from the space world. But everyone joining us today, can you walk us through your background? Tell us about yourself, give us an introduction, and how did Waypoint 2 Space get started? And what does it actually mean to be the only FAA approved commercial astronaut train company in the world?
Once again, thanks for having me, and I am excited to be here. I'll be honest that the Web3 and blockchain world is new to me. I've been a space geek the past 20 years, um, but I'm seeing a lot of convergence in all these technologies, so that's one of the reasons we jumped in, but we'll talk about that later. Like I said, I've been a space geek for about 20 years. I got to work on the Spaceship One project that won the Ansari X Prize, and actually started kind of commercial space as we know it. And from that, I was like, I got to figure out a way I can play in this. And I'm not brilliant and I'm not rich. So I figured, okay, where is the low hanging fruit here? What can I do? And I realized not a lot of folks were focused on how to train people and get them educated on what. That's where the concept of Waypoint to Space came from, which was how do I get the regular folks exposed to commercial space, exposed to what it's like to be an astronaut. Because a lot of folks don't realize that, space is a pretty harsh environment, and even astronauts that train for months and years still suffer from space sickness. So that was the first thing. We came up with the idea. We raised $1 million. We worked with NASA Johnson Space Center here in Houston, Texas, and worked with them for 4 years to develop these programs based off of NASA's shuttle astronaut training programs. And then we submitted them to the FAA, Federal Aviation Administration here in the US. And they're the only ones that actually monitor commercial space. It's not NASA. So if you want to go to space commercially, that's FAA, not NASA. So, I mean, yes, NASA is buying flights and stuff like that, but it's still under FAA approval. So we're the only company in the world to have FAA safety approval to actually train people to go to space. That's a big deal because if you want to go to space, it has to be through the FAA.
Wow. Yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely, Kevin. Thank you for that introduction and giving us that background. So, you've witnessed the evolution of the commercial spaceflight firsthand over the years. What are the biggest changes you've seen in the industry over the last decade, and what excites you the most about the next 10 years?
Well, as I mentioned, I was there for Spaceship One, and when we were on the tarmac on 2004, and I'm meeting Richard Branson and Buzz Aldrin, and we're like thinking, wow, commercial space is here. And then nothing. It just dragged on and on. And so I was a little frustrated, but I also saw there was more interest, especially with Elon Musk. I worked with him on a program called Trailblazer to build and launch a satellite in 4 months, which has never been done before. So we did a lot of exciting things back then. We were talking about mining asteroids and getting laughed at the time, and now it's companies are out there trying to do it. So what excites me is with the success of SpaceX and Blue Origin and some of these other companies, Axiom, Intuitive Machines, Firefly landing on the moon successfully with a payload I actually designed with an engineering buddy of mine. It's really exciting to see the influx of not only new companies, because every time I go to a space conference, there's brand new companies with young kids going, look what I'm doing, and they're all excited. And you see companies actually and investors actually taking them seriously and realizing, maybe they are the next Elon Musk, or maybe they're not. They're going to be Jeff Bezos eventually. So they're throwing more money at small companies, and you're seeing guys that have been working for the big, Lockheeds and Boeings and the typical players, they're branching off and going, I have an idea. I think I can get funded. And so that's what's really exciting with the success of the IPO. You're going to see even more money thrown at commercial space and even more advancements faster.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's crazy to see how much the IPO has exploded. And if you've been paying attention to SpaceX, that's just wild to me. So much excitement here. So historically, space train was reserved exclusively for government astronauts. How is commercial space train changing that? And what role do you see Waypoint 2 space playing in democratizing access to space experiences for everyday people?
That's a great question because one of the frustrations of mine as a space geek is that I want to go to space, but I don't fit in the little tiny box that NASA has to fly people. You have to be a certain height. You have to have all these parameters. I'm 6'2". I'm a little overweight, not much, but a little bit. And so I could never be a NASA astronaut. I worked with our director of programs who actually trained NASA astronauts, and he flew for the Hurricane Hunter Squadron for the Air Force. And he's got a PhD, and he couldn't be an astronaut. He wasn't selected. So you're just like, okay, well, this sucks. What about the rest of us? So the whole point of the commercial space training is we take it step by step. So we have 4 programs. The first one is Space Flight Fundamentals, where we basically put you through the ringers, put you in the pressurized spacesuit. You're doing the parabolic flights. You're doing the flight simulators. You come out of that going, okay, that was it. That was not what I thought it was going to be. I'm good. Or what's next? And then the next one is suborbital. Then we have orbital, and then we have payload specialists for both suborbital and orbital. So the whole idea is to get more and more people involved, like fill the funnel for when these guys really do start flying continuously, which SpaceX is starting to do, so that there's all these people that are waiting to fly. But not only that, it's also to train all the infrastructure, that all the ground personnel, all the trainers to train the trainers, to get that entire eco, all the STEM, like get the students excited. I got a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old, and all they do is play on their phones. I want to get them to look up and go, I want to go there, right? So these programs are designed to kind of just give people not only a taste, but take them as far as they want to go, including orbit and beyond.
That's exciting. Awesome to hear. So commercial space is exploding right now with SpaceX Starship, Blue Origin, Axiom missions to the ISS. How has demand for private space flight training changed over the past few years? And who are the kinds of people actually signing up?
Well, that's interesting because actually NASA helps facilitate some of this by opening up the ISS to commercial companies to be able to fly stuff on space. And you've seen, like, I think companies flew like seeds of, or for beer or something, and people have flown wine, and you get all kinds of weird ideas. But the whole point is commercial space is for thinking out of the box and doing different things. So the whole point of commercial space and NASA working together is trying to bridge the gap, because NASA can only fund so many things, right? And they're focused on their priorities. But commercial space is looking at the next gen, like they talked about helium-3 on the moon. There's apparently enough helium-3 on the moon to power the Earth for 5,000 years. But we got to go get it. We got to bring it back, and we got to use fusion generators to that are still in development to take advantage of that kind of stuff. So it's just kind of seeing all this stuff play together. NASA going to more of a customer role rather than a lead position, and taking advantage of all these companies that are out there. Like you said, you got Intuitive Machines. They've landed on the moon twice. You got Astrobotic. You got Firefly that landed successfully. You got all these companies that are now doing stuff that was only NASA domain, and now they're doing it first with the help of NASA.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we're also seeing rapid growth in commercial spaceflight tourism as well. But what opportunities do you believe are still largely overlooked by the public?
Well, space tourism is a big one. People kind of laugh at that, but the idea that people can go into space for maybe just a couple days, maybe not a long term, but I mean, if you start having these things flying like crazy, then all of a sudden people are going to take advantage of it and be like, yeah, I want to spend the weekend in space, or I want to have my bachelor party in space, or, all kinds of different things. But the other piece of that is once you open up the funnel, kind of like with the railroad system, then you start having companies going, well, hey, what would happen if I did this in space? What would happen if I did built this and tried to operate it? You can have peoples and companies start doing things that you never even thought of. I mean, the whole thing with the iPhone was a dramatic technology, but what made it take off was the apps, not the phone, right? All the app developers going, hey, I can take advantage of the camera and I can do this and I can take advantage of the GPS and I can do that. And that's what really made it accelerated. So it was a device, kind of like what with launch vehicles. Let's get those things flying, and then let's get people up there thinking out of the box and figuring out what can I do. And the only way you can do that is by giving access.
Absolutely. So that's great. And you're an aerospace veteran who's now building this crypto project. And that's usually not a combination most people would expect, right? And but out of all the technologies available, why do you choose blockchain? What do you see in blockchain and the tokenization as part of the Spaceway ecosystem?
Well, I'll be honest, like I said in the beginning, I'm kind of a blockchain novice, learning as I go. I have some experts behind me that are helping me put this program together so we do it right. But the one thing that sold me on it was, I'll be honest, it was a SpaceX IPO. Because I can't take advantage of that. I don't know how many people that could, right? And they're talking about all these people that became multimillionaires and trillionaires, and I know a couple of them. And it was like, well, that's great, but what about the rest of us? So what sold me on doing this was the idea that, okay, if I can offer a token, a utility token that not only can people can buy for 12 cents or whatever anywhere in the world, but it can actually be utilized in the Waypoint to Space ecosystem. So it can be used for discounts on training programs at the store to buy the gear, and all the different aspects. We're going to have all different activities with online programs and those kind of things that the token holders will be able to take advantage of. So the one thing, before I started this program, I made it crystal clear to the team: this is not a buy and dump, or whatever the terminology is. This is a buy and hold. We're going to build these space experience centers. We're going to start with the first one here in Houston, right next to NASA Johnson Space Center. And then we've already identified at least 3 to 4 other sites in the US that we can build space experience centers in. And we've been contacted by other countries, Sweden, the UK, UAE, Australia, and putting them there as well. So the whole point is we want the token to track with our progress and retain, gain, and increase in value, so that ultimately the goal would be you're using your tokens to buy your flight into space. I mean, that would be the wonderful result of all of this.
Wow. That's great. Yeah, it's like crypto and space combination. That is something special, folks. So definitely excited about this one. You guys could actually explore down below. I'll have all the links listed to check out the website. You could also join their socials as well. And I do have a few more questions here before we wrap up our AMA. But I want to, talk more about the Spway token. So this is the native token of the Waypoint 2 space, designed to support digital asset tokenization and ecosystem participation. In simple terms, I mean, go ahead and break it down. What can someone actually do with the Spway token today, and how does it actually connect to the real training programs or space experiences?
That's a great question, because people are asking, okay, when I buy this thing, what do I do? Just hold it and wait for it to go up? It's like, no. What we're doing is it's a utility token. So we're building the Space Experience Center in this coming year. So we're going to have groundbreaking ceremonies. We're going to have online programs that token holders will be able to access and actually vote on different things. And do we use these colors? Do we do that? What is your interest? Getting the community engaged. We're going to have VIP launch parties. So when we launch things into space, or we have an event that we want to go to, token holders can take advantage of that. And then understand we're going to try to make it as open as possible. So have online access as well as physical presence if you can get to the different events. But it's going to be a progression as we go along. More and more stuff's happening. When we open the facility, a VIP ribbon cutting ceremony, meet an astronaut, all these different things that we're going to have access to as part of Waypoint to Space, the token holder will have access to as well. And we're going to try to get people engaged and understand they are now part of our community. It's not just a membership or club. I mean, we're going to engage with them. We're going to ask them our opinions on different things. And we're not always going to take their advice, right? But we want to hear their thoughts, kind of like a crowdfunding idea, which is get everybody engaged and tell us what you think and what would you think is the next thing or event we should do.
That's great. Yeah, it's all about getting the community involved too. That's very exciting. And, with the SpaceX IPO talks, I mean, that's been making headlines and it's been getting huge popularity. I mean, it reigns, but it does kind of remain out of reach to a lot of retail investors, including, I mean, maybe, after all this hype, maybe now is not actually the best time to get into like the SpaceX IPO. But, Spway is being positioned as this lower cost entry point into a commercial space economy, like kind of thinking about getting early in. Can you break down that thesis and explain how holding the Spway token actually gives someone meaningful exposure to the industry growth?
I could try. Like I said, we're still trying to figure it out ourselves, but the gist of it is that you could potentially buy into SpaceX for what was it, $135?
It started at 135. It's at 186 the last I checked earlier.
Yeah, and most people couldn't afford the 135. So our token is going to be launched for 12 cents. So think how many tokens you could buy for 135 at 12 cents, right? And most people are like, you know what? I'll buy, a couple hundred, or I'll buy a couple thousand, just to see what happens, right? I mean, I think it's a cool story, and I like what's going on. So let's just see. But what's interesting is, like I said, most of the folks are looking at this as a buy and hold, not a buy and make a quick buck. And I think SpaceX is the same idea. All the news reports I've heard are, yeah, it's going up, and there's probably going to be a little bit of a dip. But if SpaceX does what they say they're going to do, it is going to reach, a couple $100 a share, if not more. So I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying what I've heard on the news. Right. So the whole idea between us is, what happens if you bought at 12 cents and it went to 50 cents and we're still getting going? Then you're going to be like, well, crap, maybe it'll go to $1. Maybe it'll go, you don't know, because we're going to be doing our Waypoint to Space program no matter what. We're going to be building our space experience centers. We're going to be tapping into the general population. Like, for example, right across the street from us is Space Center Houston. There's over 1 million people that come every year just because they're interested in space. We're going to tap into that. So the whole point is we're going to move along on our program no matter what. The whole idea is that the token holder can go along for the ride and see what happens.
That sounds fabulous. Yeah, definitely an opportunity here, folks. But remember, guys, no financial advice here on this channel. Do understand the risk of getting involved. This is all speculation. So do proceed with caution and understand you can lose money in doing any sort of investing. So moving on to the next question here, I want to talk about the roadmap. So what is actually on the roadmap? And are there specific milestones like exchange listings, space experience center launches, or partnerships that the community should be watching out for?
Yeah, so the first thing is, of course, we're going to launch the token in the next week or two here. Get it out and to the general public. At the same time, we already negotiated an LOI for the building for the Waypoint to Space Center. Some of the funds that come from the Spaceway token will be used to help fund the building and maybe some extra stuff that we weren't thinking about that we can afford, but now we can. So it's another interesting piece is the money that is generated is not going into our pockets. It's going to make the Space Experience Center even better. Now we're going to, like I said, we're going to break ground. It's going to take about 18 months to build. But we're not going to be stagnant. We're going to have different events, groundbreaking, launch parties. We're going to have different activities like online programs we're going to launch within the next 6 months to get people to start engaging online. So the whole point is that it's a building up and hopefully it goes exponential. But the whole point is we're launching the token, we're building the facility, we're kind of get people trained for space and see where it goes.
That's exciting. So this is what I have to ask then. So if everything goes according to your guys' plans with the roadmap, you guys following through on this, what impact would you see Spaceway have on both the global space industry and the Web3 ecosystem, let's say by 2030?
Well, from the global perspective, our whole goal, and that's why we talked about national expansion as well, is to get people excited about space. Most people look at what's happening with SpaceX and they're like, well, that's cool. That's a bunch of rich people playing. That's never going to be me, right? But if we can take you into our facility and we can give you space experiences, we can actually get you trained. Now, all of a sudden, you're thinking, well, maybe this is an industry or career I could choose. I mean, I thought it was beyond my reach, right? But now I've got all these credentials and certifications to apply to space. So, hey, well, let's see what happens. And maybe I can go apply to these companies now that I've been through these programs. So it's about education, it's about outreach, engaging the world. Like I said, I don't care about being rich. It would be nice, but my dream is to bring space to everyone just like me. Who's not rich, can't make the cut to be a NASA astronaut, is just passionate about space and is excited. It's amazing how many people I've run into that are closet space geeks. Maybe they're CEOs or maybe they're teachers or whatever, but at night they're going home and watching Star Trek, right? But they don't tell anybody because they don't want people to make their geeks. But the point is that passion is already there. We just want to tap into it, and also people maybe that aren't space geeks convert them. So now that they know it's an option, sky's not the limit.
Absolutely. And it's great because, I'm the crypto geek and I'm now dipping my, experience into space. And now I'm kind of starting to learn more about space. So hopefully, yeah, like you said, it's a good mixture of the two. So,
and let me jump in because I forgot to answer your question about the crypto piece. I apologize.
No, go ahead.
With this, the Spaceway token will be the very first space token. My hope is that other ones will follow suit, and you'll have other companies launch their own tokens and follow the same format and say, hey, you can have tokens in intuitive machines or an Axiom or other things to help find another way for their communities to get involved in what they're doing. So we hope we're groundbreaking, but we're not going to be the first and only, that we're just going to be the first of many.
That's awesome. And Kevin, I really appreciate you being here on doing this collaboration with our channel here at DAPPS Center. And we're going to be super excited. And of course, guys, community, if you have any questions, if you would tell us what you think about this project and what you think about space, let us know down in the comments. And like I said, all the information will be down in the description. You can check out their website and join their communities. And Kevin, before we get off here, is there anything else you'd like to say?
I'd like to say thank you for us on this program. We're really excited about this. We hope the community is as well. We know it's kind of different, bringing together two different worlds, but we think it's a really nice match, and that we're both going to be extremely successful, and we'll see where it goes.
Well, thank you guys so much and appreciate you again, Kevin, for joining us here today. And stay tuned for more. It's new here at DAPP Center saying so long and enjoy the rest of your day. Adios, folks. Take care.